So, we're back again. Me and Richard.
Richard and me.
Richard and I.
Oh, them.
So, we've just got news a couple hours ago that Auckland, the city that we live in, is in lockdown again.
Level 3.
Oh no. What a shame. Perpetual lockdowns until the day I die, I think. Only if I die within the next 10 years.
I was just about to say, only if you die before the next election. This means that we are ensconced in the same house together.
That is a shame.
We're in a bubble, so-called.
Yes.
Not one of those plastic ones, you understand, but a metaphorical one.
Oh, we should have watched Bubble Boy. Now that's a movie. No, you wouldn't have liked Bubble Boy. It's pretty... maybe you would like Bubble Boy. It's very Ferris Bueller, I'd say.
Right. I started to watch a Netflix about a kid in a bubble.
Oh, yeah? Well,
yeah.
I'll have to look into this. I haven't seen Bubble Boy since I was a child, so it might be a bit dated.
Yeah, and look, it wasn't called Bubble Boy. It was a horror film about nurses or something.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll look into it.
You shouldn't... Given that your girlfriend's a nurse, you shouldn't watch it because you'd probably have a second thoughts.
Maybe. So we're gonna watch a very COVID-related movie called Contagion. So, when COVID was first a thing, in the long ago, everyone was watching Contagion. Contagion was the thing to watch, and I thought about this being one of the first movies we watched, and I ended up not doing it.
Well, good, because I would have said exactly what I'm sort of saying now. This is a cliche. We're having a lockdown again because of COVID, and so we're going to watch Contagion. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's like every Christmas we're going to watch Die Hard, right? And you love Die Hard.
I mean, it's even sort of dumber than that.
Maybe. I don't know. I think it's just fun. It's just like, we're living like this, and it's not even as bad as this. Like Contagion
I
gets a bit
suppose
fucked.
You've identified to me that I like... I'm not saying that this was your psychiatric counselling or anything, but I like a certain amount of escapism in films, and I don't need to. I'll watch about Contagion when I'm healthy. You know what I'm saying?
I guess. I don't know. I thought it'd just be fun.
I like to watch food shows when I'm hungry.
Fair enough. I
just don't like the cliche that you watch a movie about a virus or whatever just when there is a virus. You probably know what I'm going to say, but if you don't, here it goes. Stephen King's book The Stand, which is about a post-apocalyptic world after a major
pandemic.
Yeah, pandemic.
Yeah.
It was started by the Americans. This one, not the Chinese.
Oh yeah.
Every time that there's a pandemic of any sort,
it sells out.
It sells out.
Really?
Yeah. All the bird flus and SARS and Ebola in particular.
Yeah.
Those poor people with Ebola must be looking at us and saying, "Now you know what it's like."
Maybe. I never got Ebola. Wasn't me.
No, don't do that sort of stuff.
So, before we get to watching the movie, we've watched a couple movies since we watched Die Hard, right? Together, we watched. We need to talk about The Millers. What's that movie called?
Did you hear about The Millers?
Did you hear about The Millers? It's one of Richard's favorite movies ever made, and it's a fun, comedy movie. I'd never seen it before. I found it quite fun. I would say it's not high art, but you wouldn't argue that either.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah,
but it's just
it's a good time. I thought it was fun. Hugh Grant, he's fun in that. Like, it really reminded me of Four Weddings and a Funeral, which is another great movie he's in.
Whoever wrote that script knew how to get humour into their script.
Yeah, you reckon? Yeah.
My characters in my books say hilarious things, but when you read them back to yourself, they just sound like accountants.
Because we watched another... 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. I got you to watch.
Oh, yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, I don't really remember... we were just going to watch a movie, and I listed a big list of things, and he said that one for no particular reason, except the name sounded interesting.
Well, I'd heard of the movie before, because somebody in the last few months did something similar in some other American state, and the New York Times referenced the movie.
Oh, I see. Interesting. But you said you didn't like the ending, right? That was the...
No,
it
gave me closure. It was... it was dumb.
No, that's a shame. I do really like that movie. Obviously, we're not here to delve into that. I just wanted to mention that you are getting appreciation of film outside our videos that we make.
Yes, really, we should probably do, for the edification of the whole world, we should do
a video for every single movie we watch, really.
In fact, we should probably do a video for every day of our lives.
Yeah, might as well, really. I think it would be important. Okay, so we're going to go away and we're going to go watch Contagion. We're going to watch Contagion. Try not to get COVID. We'll be good.
Yep. Shay's probably already contagious.
Probably. We'll see. I don't think so. I think we're fine. I don't think I went near those people that had the COVID.
Well, to be honest, I actually had tea today with somebody who lives in South Auckland, which I'm now regretting my life choices.
Yeah, so we'll see. Surely we'll be fine. You know, just 3-day lockdown at the moment. It's going to turn into 3 months, so we'll see. All right, let's get to the movie.
All right, see ya.
The average person touches their face 3 to 5 times every waking minute. In between, we're touching doorknobs, water fountains, and each other.
Beth. Mom? No, go up to your room, honey.
So we have a virus with no treatment protocol and no vaccine at this time.
So we have returned from watching Contagion, and how'd you like it?
Well, I watched it.
You did watch it. I was there, so you couldn't have not watched it.
True.
So what are you thinking?
I just don't really know what there is to say about it.
Really? This is just the real life. This is just what you're experiencing. So how could you...
Look, I think... Yeah, I mean, the fact that we've now had, a pandemic exactly like they describe, apart from one not quite so lethal and not quite so contagious, has probably dulled this movie somewhat.
Yeah, you reckon?
But at the same time, I think, everything that happened was, reasonably predictable. It's exactly, it would have been the script for what would have happened in reality.
Sure.
The only thing different from the general script that happened in reality is the World Health Organization teamed up with China to conceal the source of the disease.
Sure, but you had a lot of
has happened.
But in this movie, you did have a lot of conspiracy theories going on, right? I'm not saying what you're thinking. Well, by definition,
fairly simplistic ones.
Yeah, but that's what it was, right? Like people saying, the government is hiding the vaccine and things like that. Anyway, before we get into that, explain the plot real quick for anyone who hasn't seen Contagion.
Real quick, the plot is that a lady has been on an aeroplane, has been overseas for work and comes back to the US, Minneapolis, I think, and has this disease. And she's feeling really, really unwell. And then suddenly she drops her cup in the kitchen. Her husband tries to take her to a chair and sit her on it, and then she falls off the chair and starts having a seizure, and milky stuff comes out of her mouth. I don't know what she'd been doing. And she basically dies, if not there, later on in hospital. Her son does the same thing.
Did you find that really jarring? Seeing a dead body in a movie is something, but seeing a dead child, it was kind of confronting,
I suppose. I didn't really think of it like that. I mean, kids die.
Sure, but, not on screen,
True.
I don't know, just, I remember the first time I saw this going, this is what we're getting into, I felt it quite, in your face.
Right, okay, maybe so, yeah. Perhaps I'm just older and cynical, or just more heartless than you.
Maybe,
I don't know.
Maybe.
I'm bearing in mind that this was not a documentary. Exactly.
No, but you can still feel something for characters that you're watching, right?
Maybe. Well, yes, but not... Yes, you can. At the same time, various other people also get sick and die in a similar fashion, including a young person from China who feels so bad in his apartment that he walks down and walks through the street and walks onto the street, not even knowing that he's on the street, and gets hit by a bus. Yeah.
I remember you, muttering under your breath at that time, going, why would you leave the apartment if you're this sick? Stay at home. So I don't know, maybe you need some food or whatever. Maybe you just want some fresh air.
Exactly.
Type of thing. But, they showed it from his perspective and how he was, he couldn't see straight and it was all,
Yeah, and in fairness,
fuzzy.
I suppose, he wouldn't have known that he looked like he did. If I saw you before COVID, if I saw you with a whole lot of red under your nose and inflamed nose and eyes and ears, I'd think, she's sick. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
So anyway, she comes home, and of course then they start getting clusters, and the thing's really infectious, and people start dying. The original lady that I talked about, her husband doesn't die because he's got immunity. The it's quite lethal and very contagious, and the government doesn't really know how to deal with it, and governments try and deal with it, and to a substantial part fail. There's a bit made of a blogger who is generally anti-government and is also profiting from advertising and or has shares in some homeopathic remedy. And there's general chaos like there would be with an untamed virus.
Yeah.
Eventually they actually do discover a vaccine. There's a few little and I was going to say anti-government, I don't mean that. There's a few little commentary on how the government isn't as good as the private people while doing this. And eventually they get a vaccine, and a whole lot of people have died, and they all live happily ever after. There's a few little extra dimensions thrown in. Somebody's getting his wife out of a city using information that he has that the public doesn't. There's a boy visiting his girlfriend the whole time who's the daughter of the original lady. There's a person kidnapped in China so Americans will get vaccine to their village. There's a few little side stories like that, but the basic side story is there's a virus that goes worldwide. Eventually a vaccine is discovered and life continues.
Yeah, they mainly focus on, say, Matt Damon and his daughter, right? They're really the main characters. Maybe also, the leader of the CDC.
Yep.
Lawrence Fishburne.
Yep.
His character, and then you also had the conspiracy theory guy played by Jude Law.
Yep.
And so they're really the centerpieces of the movie, I would say, where you still had your other characters centered around it with, I think it's trying to show that, in such a worldwide situation, so many things are going on, right, that are impacting the main story, right, that like an event like this can far reach so much, and that's why there's so many mini stories going on.
What are these things that are going on?
Well, you had like the lady get kidnapped. You had Jude Law lying about homeopathy or whatever it is. Like working to solve the virus. Then you had his like reporter friend getting sick and wanting to get a vaccine. You had Lawrence, you had Lawrence Fishburne telling his wife or girlfriend or whoever to get out of the city with inside information, and you had you have all these different stories coming in where it could have just been following Matt Damon or following Lawrence Fishburne and seeing how the vaccine or how the pandemic happened.
With a very few exceptions, all of these little side stories were exactly what would happen in such a pandemic, and indeed exactly what has happened.
Well, isn't that great, right? Like in 2011, they really got that shit locked, right? They figured it out. They knew how it would. It's very realistic, and that's what I think this movie has going for it. It's realism to how people would act in certain situations. I suppose about people profiting from it.
I accept that there is a certain realism in that. However, at the same time, it doesn't go anywhere. It might as well be a story of Richard during the pandemic. During the pandemic, Richard did not go to work as usual, and he did his work at home, and he bitched and moaned. Then, when the lockdown finished, he went back to work, and then he came home again. And eventually, when they locked down again, Richard stayed at home and did his work from home and continued to bitch and moan.
So you complained that there was a lack of a narrative in the movie?
Just nothing happened. Nothing.
Right, well, yeah, but like maybe it's an unusual story, but your unusual story is Matt Damon being overprotective of his daughter, then finally letting go and letting her have that dance at the end. That's a more human element to this, right? To this movie.
I suppose, but that's not really an interesting story.
No,
it's normal. Like fathers being a little bit protective of their daughters is normal. Okay, and then coming around to the fact that they've actually got an okay boyfriend is also normal.
Yeah, but it's a story. It's a story to tell. I don't know, like.
But it's
you're
not really
acting
a
like
story
all stories need to be about something that would never happen in real life. Where I think a story should be representing of, like, it should be realistic.
Well, yes, but it should be a proper story. You know, if you want something realistic, I could write down what I do from morning to night. Would you make a movie about that? Genuinely?
No. I guess not.
Why not?
But I disagree that this is what that is. It still has an interesting narrative. Like boxers generally box, right? And they do a fight. That's their normal life. But there's lots of movies about boxing. You know, there's lots of movies like Rocky and Raging Bull about, you know, people training and people fighting. But that's just their normal life, Richard. That's what you're saying. Like,
yeah, but there's usually something in the story. There's something that goes somewhere.
Yeah, but maybe I disagree that the story doesn't go somewhere, because I think it doesn't
even start going anywhere. Nothing happens.
That's crazy. That's insane. Oh, well, I really like how, you know, where when shit hits the fan, how, like, animalistic people get, or how maybe, you know, aggressive. So I think that the two main parts of it, right, was when they were waiting in that line for the Prasifia, for the homeopathy treatment. Yep. And then they counted out like 50 people and said, we only have 50 shots. So then they all just stampeded forward and attacked each other and broke in and stole it all and all that. And the other bit where they're all waiting for food by those those food lines, and they said, have no food, and they overrun that car and stuff. I feel like I find it quite frightening to think like what people can do, just people, you know, just people on the street.
I agree. I mean, and look, I find it quite frightening what people on the street can do, and all you need to do is read a newspaper to be frightened of course, by that.
Right.
But no, it doesn't surprise me that people are more animalistic when confronted with survival.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's surprising, but it's confronting, I'm saying. I think it makes an interesting thing to watch. Like, I find that there's many movies like Spielberg's War of the Worlds. There's a lot of great bits where, like crowds would, like in a whole crowd, they would like take over an entire car. They all get on top of it and like tip a car over and things like that. In like with this animalistic, you know, urge to get out of the city or get away from danger, or, you know, save your loved ones but not care about other people. You know, like when shit hits the fan, no one really cares about society and each other. You know, only about themselves and maybe their children.
Well, no, that's right, and I think that's probably evolutionary, but it's also to be expected. Like, sure. You know, my job is to have food for me and my loved ones, if indeed there are any such people.
Yeah, I'm sitting right here.
And, you know, my colleagues' jobs are to get food for them and their loved ones.
Yeah, sure. But, like, because we don't really have a situation where that happens in our lives, right?
Well... No, we've always been able to envisage it, right? Yeah. You look at the government and you say, if they continue to mismanage things like they currently do, and I'm saying at any point over the last 7 years, then the whole thing is going to turn into an absolute shambles, and it'll be every man for himself.
Right. I guess. What else did you have written down?
Well, look, I didn't actually write anything down during the time. I just wrote down some notes afterwards. Yeah, I don't know. Perhaps look, I'll admit to you, I might be being a little bit cynical because, you know, I've seen what happens in a pandemic and none of it surprised me, and none of it surprised anyone for that matter.
Right.
Like, when I say none of it surprised anyone, I'm semi-admitting that everyone was surprised at the fact that everyone stocked up on toilet paper.
Right.
But behavioural scientists weren't surprised at all.
Yeah, like, that people would stock up on, you know, whatever supplies, right?
Yeah, but on necessities that they perceived as being quite necessities, but also ones that are quite bulky.
Yeah, well, I read about that toilet paper, because a toilet paper takes up a whole aisle. Yeah. But because per item it takes up a lot more space than, say, your pasta, right? If you had an whole aisle of pasta, that just if just three people panic buy toilet paper, it looks like there's no toilet paper, meaning that everyone has to panic buy toilet paper, which then forces everyone else to panic buy everything else, right? Yeah. Which is just, it's quite interesting. And I guess you don't really see the panic buying other than just the day after Easter or something, right? Where, you know, the supermarket is closed for one day and then suddenly everyone has to rush to the supermarket, you know, the next day.
It's one of those things that you suddenly think about what you need if you can't get it, right?
Yeah.
You know, I do the same thing before public holiday weekends. I think, oh flip, I need some salmon and some capsicums and this and that.
Yeah.
And things that normally speaking I just go and get if I need them.
Yeah. But you're like, one day I couldn't get it this day, so
I need to prepare for this.
Yeah.
It's our inbuilt survival instinct.
Yeah, but it's quite interesting.
You know, and they had all that rubbish in the streets, which was interesting. But again, that doesn't really need a pandemic. All you need is a decent strike.
But like, if I was watching a movie about
if you're
strike,
saying, do I expect people to quietly sit there and starve? The answer is no. I
no,
don't.
but I'm not saying what you expect. But it's does a movie have to be unexpected? Does a movie have to be not how it would happen? Like I like realism in a movie. I
also like realism in a movie, but also there needs to be some reason to watch it. You know, I could sit and watch a YouTube video about how to do the dishes, and that would be realistic.
You don't think it was like there was some compelling characters like Lawrence Fishburne? I think mainly Jude Law and Lawrence Fishburne were the main draws of say characters. Their characters.
I mean, I think they were both okay. They were very realistically drawn, but they were too well drawn. There wasn't anything interesting about them.
Yeah, you didn't like. So like, I think Jude Law's character is my favorite in the movie. Him being so cynical of the banks and so cynical of the government and the CDC and all that.
But not so cynical of. I mean, this is.
Then he turns around and does it himself, right? And I think it's
Have you never looked at YouTube? Shane?
Well, I understand this.
This
right?
is every blogger on the frigging planet.
Well, yeah, but
apart from me, of course. Who doesn't blog, but I should do.
Of course. Well, everyone does need to hear your thoughts. So.
Well, the thing is, even if they heard them, they wouldn't believe them. So there you go.
Well, I'm surprised that you are.
I mean, perhaps it's a good thing.
Film.
You know, like it was realistic.
Yeah.
And that was a good thing, but also it was too realistic, and nothing went anywhere, and nothing happened.
It's like you watch a war movie and go, "Yeah, I know what happened in Gallipoli. I don't need to know what's happening here." You know, you're like, "This is too realistic. I need some superheroes or something."
Okay, so you take a Saving Private Ryan or something that just comes to mind as a war movie, and I thought it was relatively realistic.
Yeah.
Well, that concentrated on a side of things you didn't actually see and possibly didn't really think about all that much. And in one way, look. They weren't actually going to all that effort to save the third youngest brother or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, there still has to be a narrative of something. If you want to make a documentary about what would happen in a pandemic, fine, but don't call it a movie.
But I feel like there was a narrative. You had your characters with
and the narrative boiled down to this: there was an epidemic, then we got a vaccine.
But like, what about Matt Damon and his daughter and their relationship?
They did nothing.
Him being overprotecting and then finally being accepting of her to live her life type thing. I think that is the weakest part of the movie.
Disgracefully shallow.
But I'm not saying it's the deepest shit ever, because as I'm saying, I do think that the realism
shallow.
and how they handle the pandemic and things like that is what's interesting about this film. And you're saying that doesn't interest you at all. And
if it had shown their internal... No, it doesn't at all. If it had shown their internal shenanigans, how he felt and she felt about each other,
right,
and so on, maybe more interesting. But again, in fairness to it, we've gone through this. We've read 100 articles a day on how people are coping and aren't and all the rest of it, and we know how this works.
Yeah, so do you think if you had seen this movie 10 years ago, you would have enjoyed it more, you reckon? Like, without...
10% more?
Yeah, that all? Like,
well, when you say 10 years ago, what if we say 18 months ago?
Well, I'm just saying, yeah, pre-pandemic. I was just talking about when it came out in 2011, right?
Yep.
But, like, when it, when it wasn't so, say, prone to just being realistic to what's in our life now, but being realistic to, say, how humans would react in a situation like this. It's like when I watch a movie where, say, there's a big alien or whatever.
Yeah.
I want the characters to act how they would if in our real life there is a big alien. If they act ludicrous and they don't act correctly.
We've had this discussion before, and I said exactly that. And I said these people are inhumanly stupid in this.
Alien.
Yeah, and this film is ridiculous.
Sure, I can agree they did act a bit silly in that movie. So you agree with me that.
I think people, it's relatively realistic, but. Also, nothing happens. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if there was a twist, if there was a plot, something,
right?
It just feels like there
wasn't like an obvious antagonist. Do you think that's a big part of it?
That's fine.
Like, if you had to draw an antagonist, it was Jude Law, right? Or just maybe the bureaucracy of the government.
Yeah, but I mean, even if anything, The one thing that was unrealistic about that film is that the bureaucracy of government worked too well.
Well, I think it got there because they declared martial law and things like that. Where, like, you can get shit done with a dictatorship, right? And that's kind of where they kind of ended up with military rule by the end of it, right? They had protesters that was just stopped in the street by men with guns, and they were shutting down whole cities, declaring martial law. Things that would have happened if say COVID was worse, right? Or say more deadly.
Yeah.
Right?
But I mean, again, this is pre-explored territory and not interesting.
Yeah, I'm fascinated.
I mean, I accept that because it's somewhat the reality that we're living, and certainly the reality that we've lived in the last little while, that it's it feels more boring. But there's no other films that we've watched that could be easily categorized easily described in a single sentence.
Maybe, I guess.
In fact, in 4 words. Pandemic came.
Yeah.
Vaccine discovered.
I guess. I guess if you want to, but I feel like you're being so simple about it. It's like Alien, even though you didn't like it. Alien found, killed, we escaped. One person escaped. Like, you can get down. You can boil down a movie to very simple elements, but not saying that there's not, say, deeper elements in it still.
I mean, I'm surprised to find myself defending Alien here, but what I didn't like about Alien was not so much the storyline, but it was the horrible errors and the unrealistic stupidity of the characters.
Right.
Right.
What about the score of this movie?
Because we talked about this slightly before. The score is good. I like the good things about these movies. The score's really good.
Yeah.
The acting is quite good. The sets are good. It's very well filmed and all the rest of it.
Yeah. You think it's just lacking in the narrative and the story type thing?
Yeah. I mean, look, if you gave me a perfectly rounded piece of vanilla ice cream, absolutely spherical.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'll give you the credit that's due, but if I have a piece of, hazelnut chocolate toffee with additional stuff on the side, I just went out to a restaurant yesterday and had a nice pudding.
Understandable.
It may not actually have to be as completely perfect, but it just is sort of rather a bit more.
Right. I guess. Man, this is quite sad. I keep giving you stinkers, it seems. The last 3 movies we've watched on this channel. Well, not last 3, because we watched
Pulp Fiction, which was great.
Well, like, you didn't like Alien, you didn't like Die Hard, you were okay on...
I was okay.
What was that
I was
Western
okay
we
on
watched?
Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I was okay on that, and I was okay on Die Hard too. I was at pains to point out that Die Hard wasn't a bad movie. It was just ridiculous.
Well, because it wasn't high art, right? And we both knew this. And you
I mean, I thought there were flaws in Die Hard. In retrospective, I'm wondering if The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly should have perhaps been rated a bit higher on my rating
Probably.
list.
I would say so, but we can discuss this later. Like, so what else? Did you think about this movie? Anything else in particular?
Look, not really. Look, there weren't horrible errors, right?
Yeah.
So from that point of view, it wasn't as confrontingly bad as Alien.
Yeah.
But also nothing happened. It's not that hard to take a scoop of vanilla ice cream out. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, this is interesting. Like,
How long do you think you'd have to sit down at your desk for before you could write a convincing story that was better than Contagion? That had more going on.
But I feel like there's more to a movie than just the story. I feel like how characters interact how... you had the score, the cinematography, the great acting.
The score was good. The cinematography was good. The acting was good in that nobody actually did anything, so that wasn't that hard.
But I feel like there was more emphasis on how people react than there is to, say, a traditional, man goes to a place story, 3-act structure. traditional story, right? There wasn't a man came to town or a man went on a journey, right?
Yeah, no, fair enough. Well, there wasn't either of those things, and it has been said that all of fiction boils down to one of those things.
I know, and that's
And
what I'm saying.
so,
Well,
yeah.
yeah, but I'm saying that it's boundary pushing at that point, right? Where it's breaking the mold of what a story is. Like, there's this famous French movie. I can't remember what it's called. It's not that famous. It's like 5 hours of a woman just cleaning her house. I've never seen it, but I've heard about it.
I think that's a very good approximation. I mean, look, what about this? What if I were to go and print off from my computer a very large, like an A3 piece of paper with a single 0 on it, and then hang it 10 degrees off center on my lounge wall? I mean, some people would consider that high art, like the banana strapped with duct tape to the art gallery wall, but there still wouldn't be much to it.
I guess.
If anything, I think there would be more to it than this movie. But...
Yikes! That's sad. I am sad. I will need to find more movies that interest you.
I've got one, by the way.
Yeah? Well, what are you thinking?
I'm mildly interested to rewatch. I watched it many years ago.
Yeah.
I'm mildly interested for a quick rewatch.
Yeah.
A quick note on Blair Witch Project.
Oh yeah, I could watch the Blair Witch Project. I have many criticisms of it. So.
Well, but it's. Here we go. You see, we've just got sidetracked because Contagion was so fucking boring.
Yeah. Okay. We can watch Blair Witch sometime.
I agree that Blair Witch. We've got many criticisms of it, but it's also quite interesting and new, and it was groundbreaking at the time, and in one way it still is. I think there are interesting elements.
Okay, let us know if you want us to do a review of Blair Witch Project. We could do that.
Yep. There are one or two other really good films that you and I have been planning to review.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, there's a bunch. You keep. We've recorded a recording for us watching Under the Silver Lake like a year ago at this point, and I never edited it because I think there was some issues with our conversation about it. Maybe we could do it again some
You're
other
talking
time.
about audio issues, right?
Not only audio, but just I feel like we weren't as focused in our conversation.
Oh, was it one of those bourbon conversations?
It was one of the recordings were literally like 2.5 hours long of just us rambling and going off topic.
2.5 hours worth of great discussion.
I do agree on that. Okay, we can talk about Under the Silver Lake another time as well. Alright, so any last thoughts on Contagion? I'm not just going to cough straight into the microphone.
Please
don't.
Look, just nothing. It wasn't. The thing is, it didn't. As I say, it didn't. I want to draw some comparisons. Yeah. It didn't contain gratuitous errors.
Yeah.
Of say Alien because nothing happened.
Wow, right? Rough. It's like
true.
If you had to rate it, like, what do you got?
Okay. Well, I'm going to pull out my phone and have a look at what else I've rated. You see, Alien, which I did not like.
Like 1.5, didn't you?
I gave it 1.5.
Yeah.
Because it was just too stupid and error-ridden for words.
Right.
The Shining, I gave 1.
We need to watch The Shining together because I cannot understand, but I understand because you're a Stephen King book fan.
Yeah, I am, and it's like, don't give me this rubbish.
I get.
So I accept that The Shining was like it found itself in comparison to a book and was so badly lacking that.
I get it.
Yep. 3 Billboards at 2.5.
Yeah.
Actually had a story.
Yeah.
Die Hard had a story. Sonic the Hedgehog had a story and character development.
To the smallest degree.
It's more than the others. So yeah, look, it's the thing is, I gave Alien 1.5 because it was ridiculous and riddled with errors, and Alien had a story, and it didn't really have character development.
Right.
I can't, in fairness, give Contagion
higher than Alien.
The same as Alien, even. I don't know if it deserves the 1 star that The Shining has.
Yeah.
It does deserve...
You have to go so deep into this, though.
It does deserve... Well, no, I mean, it does deserve the half star that Moulin Rouge has.
You didn't even watch all of Moulin Rouge.
Exactly.
Can't rate that. You walked out.
Look.
I feel personally
attacked. If you were to eat a bowl full of dog shit. You wouldn't need more than the first mouthful to know what it tastes like. But anyway, look, this one, it's not as good as Alien.
Yeah.
Therefore, sensationally not as good as Alien. Therefore, it needs less of a rating.
1 star.
It can have 1 star.
Rough. For note, I have it at 4 stars. I think Contagion's a solid film. Go watch it. It's really solid. I'm sad that I can't find films that Richie will love. I'll find a movie with a narrative.
If anyone can find anything that actually happens that is unexpected or interesting in Contagion, please note it in the comments.
God. Alright. Thanks for listening, guys.
We love you as ever. Post in the comments, because last time nobody posted in the comments. It made me sad.
No one watched that Die Hard one, eh? It was kind of... I don't know what happened with that. It's weird. And 30 people watched it.
Really?
But everyone else, every other video has 300 minimum, right? Yeah, it's weird. I don't get it. Alright. Cheers, guys.
See ya. Bye-bye.